So the other day I went to my local half-price bookstore. It's the first time I've been in one, maybe in a while even, and they had some good deals. My main goal was to dig through the computer book section since the local library removed all the programming books. I guess they're trying to cater to people wanting to check out books such as iPads for Dummies or Minecraft for Dummies or Windows 10 for seniors instead. But then again, this is the same library that lets you borrow movies but doesn't even have them on Blu-rays. Nope, they're still DVDs in 2017. So since I didn't want to wait a few days for the books to be sent over to the other library and have to deal with the restrictions of checking out books, including constantly renewing them, I took the plunge and I found a few C books. I also ended up getting a slightly older copy of the official Java reference book, a Visual Basic 6 book for shits and giggles, and a Quake 4 modding book because, everyone told me modding is how you get into game development easy. Anyhow, as I was looking at a row of books that included worthless, laughable crap such as Google Plus for Dummies, tons and tons of Windows 8 and Windows 8 for Seniors books, and LinkedIn for Dummies, and plugging through dated yet still useful books to load in my cart, kind of feeling bad for the fact that nobody cares for reading older books about tech that you seem to see in every college classroom, I was thinking in my head, man, pop culture sure took a huge-ass nosedive these days. And as I noticed my half-price bookstore was selling Funko Pops and comic books, I realize you've probably noticed it likely too. Nobody seems to get excited for anything new anymore. It's all just a great sea of generic crap that big corporations think you want now. And I can possibly see why people think this way too. For one, the quality of what's coming out from these big companies has dipped hard. These companies are out of touch with what people want. For example, video games. It's no longer people who play video games, making games and calling the shots. It's big corporations with boardrooms that burden even the most talented people as focus groups basically dictate game design. Not the gamers, not the game designers. The same focus groups that made decisions like the original Atari Lynx being far too big for anyone. And in fact, I think an interview actually said that the reason the original Lynx was so big was that focus groups said, this needs to be big. Bigger's better. And this has resulted in video game franchises going down the toilet, such as Call of Duty, which used to be the biggest franchise on the 360, and now it's a shell of its former self on next gen. And gamers are either moving on or becoming more apathetic than a Windows 10 user being told Microsoft is spying on them. And don't forget all the rehashes too, and the bad remakes and crappy remasters and all that stuff. The second bigger issue, which is affecting a lot of things too, is politics, especially in Western pop culture, are being injected everywhere now. And right now, literally no stone is being unturned with regards to politics. You can buy mass-produced and marketed video games, and you'll get narratives and agendas pushed. And lately, games of that sort haven't done so well. Just look at the shit show that was Mass Effect Andromeda, which is only remembered for its memes and gameplay videos that were coming out showing how much of a piece of shit it was, and not for the fact that it was a boring-ass game. And honestly, E3 2017 did a better job at showing the state of the gaming industry today than it did to advertise new games, with a game developer being attacked for 3-year-old tweets showing he wasn't a woke feminist, and all sorts of video games having the kind of diversity you'd expect from a Dr. Dre or DMX music video, a diversity that feels somewhat forced, if you know what I mean. Just look like when 10 websites will run the same copy and paste article on something. In fact, you know me, I shit on Nintendo all the time for quite a few good reasons. But when it comes to politics and gaming, I will give them mad props when it comes to their stance on it. And that is, they basically pretty much said that making political statements is for others to do and that politics don't belong in their video games. So, congratulations Nintendo, you're one of the few game companies that hasn't completely gone down that rabbit hole, that knows that if you want video games to sell, you gotta keep the politics out of them. Now, this has been happening for some time now. It happened first with nerd hobbies such as video games, comics, sci-fi fiction, and tabletop RPGs, only encountering any form of resistance with Gamergate games, and to a lesser extent the whole range of puppy campaigns that ended up in the end showing just how rigged the Hugo Awards are. They got attacked for the gaming press, for being outside the status quo, who wants to make safe garbage and hipster garbage like Gone Home, but let's be real here. Anyone who isn't a useful idiot can see something big happened in late 2014 and early 2015. But ever since Donald Trump won the election, that crowd has been doubling down hard. And recently it's happened even in sports ball, with the whole NFL thing. Now, the NFL has had its share of controversy in recent years, such as the high occurrences of CTE and political sports players such as Tim Tebow or Colin Kaepernick or whatever that dude's name was. And recently, because evil dictator of the world Donald Trump criticized players taking the knee during the national anthem and disrespecting it, tons of NFL players decided to show evil dictator Trump, and entire teams were taking the knee. This turned out to be a bad choice, as fans were pissed, because after all, the NFL fans don't overlap with rich people in San Francisco. And it turned out to be a bad choice because fans were pissed, burning their jackets, their jerseys, their tickets, memorabilia, just about everything with sports logos on it. They were burning all that NFL stuff and vowing to not go to another game and vowing to boycott it. So eventually what's happening now is people are just straight up burnt out on pop culture, not giving a shit anymore. They don't care about what happens with entertainment because after all it's supposed to numb their minds and make them ignore what's going on outside. And yet politics walked up to their door and burst right in, saying, "Donald Trump's a shitlord! Don't vote for him! He's fucking evil! He's a Nazi! Whee!" The same applies with many nerd communities, fandoms, and whatnot, and I know this because I'm in several of them. Politics have infiltrated them, and usually a very left-wing brand that results in people who aren't all in on their politics walking on eggshells to avoid getting blocked by others without even interacting with them, due to the rise of block lists and whatnot. And I know for a fact that lots of people in these groups just stay silent because they know if they raise their voice and address the elephant in the room, what's going to happen is they'll get burnt hard, and a lot of these people have no friends or no connections outside this group, so it's easy to see why they do it. Furthermore, there's lots of things you're not allowed to criticize while you're walking on eggshells, and while I can't mention many of them due to what I'm about to tell you, I can't tell you my experience with similar things, because these people kind of act in the same way. Now, I ran into this before the whole political climate when the whole thing was on YouTube, people fighting over video games, and not people fighting over presidential candidates. And while I was pissing off people who were like mad at me for not having the same opinion on video games, I learned that there were people who do nothing but eat, watch cartoons, play Nintendo, shit, wallow in their own depression and self-loathing because chances are all they have are video games, and Google searching for anyone that disagrees with them, so that they can burn them at the stake, argue with them, and hope they take back their problematic opinions. Now, it's one thing if it's just a nerd arguing on the internet, but then you get that but then you have some of these people, and they're like that pissed off lady in the luxury car who says that she's going to tell your manager, you know the person who drives a Benz or Audi or BMW SUV, and cuts you off in traffic and gets all pissed off. Yeah, some of those people are like that in the sense that they brag they have connections and that they'll get you fired. I'd like to talk to your manager, everyone. And while many of them are bluffing, some of them do in fact have connections. Like if you were actually following the Gamergate shit, that's what I learned, is that some of these people have connections and they can try to fuck you over. And even then, I know for a fact that there are people who go out and seek out opinions they criticize just so they can try to shut them down. And back when YouTube showed you what people were searching for, and back when you could still actually see that, lots of searches for my videos were Sonic sucks, when I'd make videos about how Sonic does in fact suck. And you know what? I played along with people, saying I was an elaborate troll, when the only trolling was the end result of nerds posting hilariously angry comments for not worshipping their holy video game. I knew it was easier for them to accept than it was for them to accept that someone couldn't like their favorite video game. Yeah, especially with nerds and whatnot, video games are serious business, and they are holy to them. You want an example of what the internet has become, though? Just look at Reddit or Tumblr or Facebook. Look at it. It's the sanitized corporate internet they want. Tons of broken people taking labels, trying to stand out while acting as gatekeepers, and criticizing people and ideas by saying, actually, they're bad, or, ugh, I hate this person, they're toxic. Without giving you reasons why, they just say, ugh, this person. Any critical opinion being downvoted by bots is also common on these sites. And you're supposed to believe that all your coworkers and neighbors are Nazis who dog whistle their code words. I mean, America's literally the worst country ever. Ugh! But seriously, somebody actually said that in a Telegram group I was in. They actually believed that everybody at their job was a Nazi. Kinda depressing to realize that that's what tons of media exposure and soy milk does to your brain. And I thought it was bad 4 years ago when you'd get unfriended for not liking Nintendo games. I guess I had no idea on how bad it would be in the next 4 years, and I feel like the internet and, well, now pop culture is a great big pit of insanity that's making people dumber, even dumber than, say, cable news and the TV did. And that it's making people drool in front of it, just sitting on their sanitized version of the internet that's like cable TV now, and just clicking the approved opinion instead of seeking out their own stuff, instead of seeking out knowledge, instead of learning to do more than just eat, watch cartoons, play video games, wallow in your own depression, and then shit. Now, of course, there's several things you can do now that everything around you pop culture-wise has turned to complete shit. You can go look for older media back when it wasn't so shit and consume it. And the internet makes this a lot easier, though they do want to shut down torrent sites. If your family gives a shit about you, you can try being with them more, being with your family more, maybe going out and doing something like fishing, bonding with your family and whatnot. Maybe you should like bond with people around you and put down the TV and whatnot, because there's more to do than just watch a movie together, for sure. You can create your own media and put it out now, since theoretically it should be easier to do now with a great big void in pop culture and distribution being even easier than ever. And that's what I'm planning on doing soon anyhow, by making a video game and whatnot. Or you can just wake up, look what's around you, and take in just how bad everything else is and ask yourself, how can we improve this, and what exactly went wrong, and where? I'll leave it up to you to continue on that journey, but for now, all I have to say is, that's just how pop culture is now, people. It's a great big load of shit, and maybe now you'll be less distracted. That's all that needs to be said.